welcome to Ward 13 with John Hopwood and my co-host Joel Elber, who is a candidate for state rep from Hillsborough District 19, which is Ward 12.
Yeah.
Also, my guests today are Scott McGilvray, who's running from Senate District 16, which is parts of we'll explain that, Manchester, Candia, and Bow.
Bow, Hooksett, and Dunbarton.
Dunbarton's the one I couldn't remember. Bow I know well. The birthplace of Mary Baker Eddy. Yeah. And my nephew-in-law. And then we have Bill Berry, Ward 10 Alderman, who can only join us for about 15 minutes because there is a meeting of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen tonight. So, Bill, why don't we kick this off with, why don't you introduce Scott?
Yeah, well, I've been fortunate enough to know Scott for quite a few years. What a great guy! I'll tell you, he's an educator, football coach. Really did a lot with the kids in our neighborhoods. Kids, I'll tell you, Lonnie McCafferty. He's the prosecutor for Auburn Police now, and he's told us some unbelievable stories about how Scott guided him down the right path. And it's people like that we need in the state senate. I mean, especially with this opiate crisis. I've run into people that were former students of Scott's who said, and these are football players, who said that without him, they would have gone down the wrong path. So he's done a lot for children, and I'm sure he's going to do a great job as Senator. So any of my friends out there, Hooksett, Manchester, Dunbarton, Bow, any of you guys out there, in Candia, you know, there's a lot of some kids still, you know, from Hooksett that go to Central High School. My daughter does rowing for Central Crew, and a lot of great kids, a lot of good kids from Hooksett. So if you're listening, parents of the Hooksett kids, vote for Scott McGilvray. He's a great guy, and you won't go wrong.
Thanks,
Scott,
Billy.
Before we get into the opiate crisis, Scott, what high school were you the coach at?
I coached at Memorial for most of the time.
Okay.
I did coach at West for a few years.
West, my alma mater.
Yep, and Elber for a couple of years in there when I helped a friend of mine start that program. When he was starting up, I went down.
Excellent.
Yep.
Okay, the opiate crisis. Bill, who better to talk about the opiate crisis than Bill, who's the head of the committee on, what is it?
Alcohol, other drugs, and youth services.
Right.
Very, very busy committee, probably one of the busiest committees that we have in the city of Manchester, I believe. We try to meet before every alderman meeting, the weeks of, and it's every 2 weeks. So, and there's not many committees that actually do that. And we don't stop in the summertime either. We'll go straight through. And you know what? You can't stop. Unfortunately, it's an ongoing problem. As hard as we work at it, and I'll tell you, it is a team effort. I can't do it myself. Scotty can't do it himself. The mayor can't. No one can. I mean, everyone's got to pitch in. The fire department's out there day in and day out. The Manchester Police Department with the granite hammer, enforcing what they can, you know, hopefully getting out there and arresting the dealers. That's a huge step. And I know a lot of people say that we can't arrest our way out of this problem. Well, we can arrest the dealers, and I think it's very, very important that when we do arrest the dealers, we communicate with the prosecutors, communicate with the judges, that these dealers, they set high bails on them, because these people are dealing with heroin and fentanyl and other dangerous drugs that are killing people. And if they're going into court and they have their defense attorney going into court, and again, I'm focusing on the dealers, if they're going into court and they're giving a sob story to the judge that, oh, my client is he's a user, that's why he's selling drugs, baloney. If they were using and selling heroin, they wouldn't have a profit at all. And they wouldn't even have any clients. They'd be their own client. So.
Well, we'll get to the point that one of the most famous heroin addicts was William Burroughs, who's a famous writer. He was a junkie for a while, and he said the only way to stop it is when you stop their access to junk, to heroin. So that's stopping it, why putting the dealers away is so important. Now, what can a senator, somebody in the Senate, do for somebody like an alderman from Manchester? And Scott, who is your opponent in this?
Joe Duarte.
And isn't he? Tell us a little about him. Did he vote against Granite Hammer?
Yeah, he voted against Granite Hammer.
Why? Why?
I haven't got into a conversation with him, about it. I say that I'm running for an office, not against Joe.
Right.
Right.
You know, I'm running to be the next state senator in District 16.
But there is a great sentiment amongst certain part of the Republican Party, a more libertarian wing, and that's not to put down all libertarians, because like my friend Nat Carnan is a libertarian, but there is a great anti-law enforcement sentiment amongst
Right.
certain people.
Yeah, and you know, and I'd like to touch base on that because you're right, and I'll tell you, I had a conversation. I was down, you know, I'm running for sheriff for Hillsborough County, so I was down in Nashua, and we had a candidate forum, and there was a lady in the audience. Great question. She said, you know, why she lives in Nashua, spends a lot of time in Manchester, and she wanted to know why the opioid crisis and the drug crisis isn't as bad in Nashua as it is in Manchester. And she was, you know, pretty much saying that it seems like the Nashua police have it under control better than Manchester does.
Is this a Nashua resident?
It was a Nashua resident. And what I said to her, and after I said it, she said, you know what, that makes sense. Think about Manchester. What's in Manchester? You've got the Hillsborough County Jail
Right.
in Manchester. You've got a state prison and federal prison halfway house in Manchester. You've got methadone and Suboxone clinics in Manchester. You've got treatment centers. You've got Serenity Place, Hope for New Hampshire Recovery. You've got the Farnham Center. You've got these treatment centers in Manchester. You've got Manchester Mental Health. You've got
highways linking, you know.
right, but
that-
just those factors,
Nashua's got two
alone.
highways. We have 101
Yeah.
coming in. We go up to Vermont.
Yeah, but
the
even
border, everything.
with the highways, because a
Yeah.
lot of these people that are using and stuff aren't driving. They are being dropped off here for good reason. You know, to get the treatment that they want, but unfortunately a lot of them do relapse, and what happens
Yes.
when you relapse? You're looking for money, but you're also going to stay around Manchester. So why does Manchester have a big problem? Because it's like a magnet, because people are coming here for treatment, and they're coming here because they're spending time in the halfway houses, they're spending time in the county jails, and they're staying here, and we, you know, we have to work. So when people, especially elected officials, whether it be on a county level or on a state level, if they honestly think that this is a Manchester problem, they need to recheck it, you know.
Well, let's just say something about, yes, we do have the county jail, and that is a major factor. But another factor is about Nashua. Nashua got a drug court that's southern Hillsborough County, where northern Hillsborough County didn't get a drug court.
Right.
It didn't get there's an innovative program, remember, a year ago that uses cognitive behavioral therapy that your subcommittee featured, and we don't have that here. They have it in Nashua, and there was a battle for that drug court.
Yeah, and
To get a
again,
drug court here.
and that's where Scott would come in handy
Right.
as a state senator, and even our legislators, Joel. Hopefully, Joel will get
Yes.
elected, because that's what you need. You need these county, because when you're a state legislator, you're also on the county delegation. In the county delegation, and it went down party lines, unfortunately, because
Yeah.
this isn't a Republican-Democrat problem. This is a problem amongst all of us. Unfortunately, it went down by, I believe it was 6 votes to have a drug court in Manchester, and some of the mentality of some of those elected officials was, and they actually came out and said it, this is a Manchester problem.
Well,
They
there
didn't
were-
vote for it.
There were Republicans from the Manchester delegation that voted against it.
Right.
Which is unconscionable.
Yeah.
They also have a veterans court in Nashua, which is another issue we can talk about. Bill, you've got about 3 or 4 minutes before you have to go off to do your duty for Ward 10 in the city.
Yeah.
Is there anything more? Tell us about, what's the future now? What's it looking like in the battle against
Well,
opiates here in Manchester?
We had another committee meeting last night. Dick Anagnost and Jenny O'Hagan came and spoke about different programs that they're doing. Dick Anagnost,
Dick is
the C.A. Hoyt building, the old
C.A.
C.A.
Hope,
Hoyt
which is going to
building.
be a rehab facility?
Yeah, and they actually were opening today the ground floor, which would have been the Hope for New Hampshire Recovery.
Right.
So and they're going to have 4 floors. I think the 4th floor is going to be Manchester Mental Health. You're going to have families in transition there. So you're going to have, hopefully, one silo that's going to benefit everyone. You know, whoever has a problem or whatever, and they're even going to have a medical facility so that it's, for example, if the
Right.
Manchester Police pick someone up that's maybe passed out somewhere or whatever, or a safe station, they can bring them over there and they'll check them out medically and make sure that they're, put them they'll lead them in the right direction.
2 things. One of the major problems with Manchester and the drug problem was that there weren't facilities to help people in the past. And another thing I'd just like to say about people, because my interaction with you, because I'm a veteran,
Right.
and I'm close to other veterans, people put down drug users or this or that. I have to remind you, a lot of people, veterans, for whatever reason, might get hooked on drugs or whatever through opiates.
Right.
In Iraq, where there's not the medical personnel, they hand out oxycodones with, I can't believe the numbers. I'd never heard of any such thing. And so there has to be compassion for these people.
Absolutely, because and just like I said, this touches everyone. I've had a year and a half ago I had said that sooner or later everyone is going to be affected by this, and not that they're going to know someone that's using heroin, but that they're going to know someone that's died from heroin. And about a month after I said that, a kid that I used to coach in baseball, 29 years old, died from heroin use. And then 2 weeks after that, my cousin's son died. So I was hit twice in less than a couple of months. So it's out there. Again, it's not. You don't have to be poor to be a bad heroin user. You know, what I say and
Yes.
what I think is hopefully a lot of people will agree with. This is good people who have made bad decisions.
Right, because like I have gone to you for help, which was always there. Bill, you're a great resource, and you make a great sheriff.
Well, you know I'll work hard. You know?
Excellent sheriff.
Yeah, you know I'll work hard. That's one thing you'll get out of me is once I get my head into the game, then I'm all full steam ahead.
Yeah,
But
you're
Joe,
non-stop.
I don't think anybody, the compassion and is caring for people.
Yeah, you're
It's
absolutely
true.
right. Yeah.
And a lot of it goes back to just like Scott. When you're dealing with kids, I've coached for baseball, basketball, and football for about 36 years, and it means a lot to you when you see
Right.
these kids growing up, and you see some of the kids that do unfortunately go down the wrong path. I've transported people, I've arrested people that I used to coach, and I've had long talks with them. Some of them, get it, and they move on in a better direction. And good luck to them, So
Right, and
we're always here. So if there's anyone out there that's having a problem, feel free to get in touch with me because I'll be more than happy to help you out, and it's certainly confidential. So,
well, Bill, I think you have to move on.
Yep. Well, thank you.
Your 15 minutes of fame on
That's it. On Hopwood.
with John Hopwood is
Well,
over.
I wish everyone the best of luck. My
Thanks,
good
Billy.
friend Scotty, Joel.
Thank you so much, Bill. I wish you the best,
All right.
too.
Thank you, guys.
And vote for, here it is, Bill Berry for sheriff. Bill, we've run out of signs for you, though. Joel, you've interviewed Scott.
Yeah.
Why don't you start the interview?
Yeah, like he mentioned, he gave a quick background. You're a coach and
Teacher.
teacher, and now you're running for state senate.
Yep.
And I know you're working. I get a lot of feedback. You're working hard out there.
I've
You're
got to
out
eat
there
this.
Scott's
Everybody's
out there
watching
every
this.
day out there, folks. He's knocking on doors. He has signs galore out there, and you're doing a fantastic job from what
No.
from people that are telling me.
Yep, thank you very much. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to come in. I taught for 25 years, and I went into teaching not so much because I thought I was super smart and could, extend my knowledge onto other people, but I felt that kids needed an advocate for them.
Because you care.
Right.
You care.
And I absolutely loved every day that I taught. But I advocated for kids, and all different types of kids. And then I saw my colleagues needing somebody to advocate for them, so I got involved with National Education Association, and then now I'm up there representing 17,000.
Do you know Joel's a former teacher, and he's been endorsed by the New Hampshire NEA?
Yep.
Yeah, and I was a teacher for 5 years, and I was like you, Scott. I love my kids. I would do anything for them.
Yeah,
And-
it's it's what I went in there for, and I think this is a great opportunity.
Yeah.
This is a seat that's been extremely close over the last 4 or 5
Oh, yeah.
elections, perennially.
Kathy Arnold almost won it, remember?
Yep. Yes,
But
yeah,
she
that's
came
right, yeah.
razor thin. Yeah.
John DeStefano lost it
Right.
about 10 or 15 years ago by 6 votes.
Yeah.
Like you can't take anything for granted. You got to work right up to Monday night, Tuesday. You still got to knock on doors and just remind people, to get out there and vote and vote for the right candidate, and which is Scott. No
And
doubt.
that's, certainly, I think we have a great opportunity. We've 2 very good senators up there now, and Senator D'Alessandro and Senator Susi. who are tireless workers, and I've seen the work that they do. For me to get up there and have them mentor me, and have us the three of us work together on behalf of Manchester, I think would be very critical and
Yes.
wonderful. You know, as well as having Chris Pappas up there. You know, Chris and
yeah.
I extend out of Manchester. Donna goes down into Litchfield in her district, but, you know, and I extend all the way up into Dumbarton and Bow. But, you know, this greater center part of the state needs strong people to advocate for them. And that's, you know, what I would like to do is continue my advocacy up there on behalf of this people of District 16.
Hey, what subject did you
I taught
teach?
social studies, mostly sociology, psychology, law.
Oh,
So I wasn't a big
because
history
when I
person.
went, I was class of '77. It was social studies. I don't know if they call it that anymore.
That's what they call the department, but it's...
Yeah, I got
you
a,
know,
yeah, I'm like you. I got a degree in social studies, then I minored in English.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, I did that, and I coached for years, and then just saw an opportunity to advocate on behalf of my fellow colleagues.
What are you talking about advocacy? Why is there so many people? I can think of a son. I won't mention his name. A radio show host from Penardville, who's the son of an educator, well respected, who seems to have such animosity towards teachers. Unfortunately, he's on the school board. We'll leave that to that. But why do people? Where does this animosity towards teachers come from? And let me just add this: I was in Germany for 2 years in the army, and in Germany, a teacher is just any teacher, not just a professor at one of their great universities, is revered as like so central to their culture and their society. A teacher is just the only equivalent is if you're in Texas, the high school football coach.
Well, what I would say to that is it's a bigger picture than that. It's not teachers. If you look at let's just put in simpler terms. You look at your municipal budget, the largest part of your municipal budget is your schools.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so then when you look at that, then you go and look at your schools, and so that's an easy place to target and attack because it's the largest part of a budget. And so
$163 million here in Manchester.
And there's been this sentiment for many years that has grown, it's festered, that we should have less government. Less government, in most cases privatize or have no government.
Right.
So where are you going to go take those beliefs and those values and put them? You're going to put them in where the biggest bang for your buck is going to be. And that's going after, you know, public education in and of itself. We saw that start here in Manchester back when they privatized the custodial services.
Right.
You know, and the custodians were the caretakers of the school. They lived in the neighborhood. You know, when the kids were acting up on a Sunday doing something, they would walk over and take care of it, you know.
Oh, that's true, because in Litchfield, my father's family was from Litchfield for 250 years. I go with Senator Susie down there, and we campaign. And it's, now that you say that, because the custodian at, like, the Litchfield middle school, he's like a part of, he's out there, he's like, they all know him, he's like part of the community, and everybody
right.
knows him,
I
is
mean,
dealing with
when
him.
we were going to school, everybody knew the lunch
yeah.
lady.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
right.
not
You
just
know, the lunch lady took care of you.
Peter White's mother was
You know?
actually.
That's right.
Now
Yeah,
lunch
it
just
was.
come in a box that they stick in a microwave.
Right.
You know, and there's no personal interaction. You know, and kids
It was a
need-
community.
Yeah, and they've tried to tear that apart. You know, and I understand it's an easy thing to attack. It's an easy thing to go after because it's big. And our pocketbooks are not as deep as they used to be.
But the resentment of teachers, too, like the teachers' contract. Remember when you ran for alderman, you were very much for the new teachers' contract because you had been a teacher.
Right, exactly. As being
And
an
you had
educator,
been
yeah.
laid off because
Yeah.
of budgetary constraints, which
Good-
changed
good
your
stuff.
life.
Oh, yeah. Oh, completely.
The
Yeah.
largest
Yeah.
part of a municipal school budget
Yeah.
is salary and benefits. So when you get a contract that comes up, automatically you look at it, and in the city side you have 20 some odd contracts.
Yes.
So not one stands out as being significantly more than a lot of the others. When you look at the school district employees, there's you know, the
So-
teachers, and then there's 5 other groups, but they're all smaller.
The thing is, you know, there's these people that will attack teachers. Oh, they get three months vacation. Oh, what an easy job. But we know teachers. My family's full of teachers. They work all the time. You're devoting so much of your life. If you are a good teacher
good.
and care for kids, and most of them are good teachers, there's so much time you're pouring in, your own personal time.
Right.
And
That's-
supplies.
I was just going to
Buy
say that it's not just
supplies
the
and
classroom. You know, when you go home, put the kids that they're up there 2,
Yeah.
3 more hours collecting.
Eating
market
dinner across the
papers,
table from one.
You know, yeah, and getting ready for the next day. Programs and everything else. So there is a lot of work being
Yeah.
involved as a teacher. It's not just what they do in
Yeah.
the classroom, like we just said. You know, plus what they do at home.
Right. You know, and that's not the platform. I'm not running on a platform of being one issue in
Right.
in education.
Right.
I thought
But
we-
the thing is about community, and I think Democrats are much better at understanding and promoting community.
Right.
Rather, I mean,
should be the community center.
when I grew up,
That's true,
Republicans before, like Mel Thompson, it's a different breed of Republican we had. You know, Lou D'Alessandro was Republican for so many years. You know,
I grew up in East Concord, which is where the
Okay.
Bridges house is, which is
Stiles
the residence,
Bridges,
yeah,
right.
which is the residence can be the residence for the governor.
For the governor.
They've now converted
Right.
it. But when I was growing up, as a little kid, Mel Thompson was the last governor to formally live there.
Yeah.
And I lived up on the hill above it, and we'd go down and pick. He had peaches. And I'd go down and pick peaches off
because he
the
was from
tree.
Georgia. Remember? He was from
Really?
Georgia.
Yep, and we'd pick peaches, and his wife would cook us peach cobbler, and and it was neat. We go down like on a Saturday morning, but no, and if you look at that, for example, collective bargaining was formed in the state to collectively bargain under what was arguably the most conservative Republican governor we ever had, Mel Thompson. You know, I don't think you would get that now. But touching base, I guess, kind of segueing back to something that Billy said. Certainly, the opioid crisis, and I say this a lot. There's not a silver bullet to solve any crisis.
Right.
You're right.
You know, and too many people, politicians and citizens, think let's just throw the silver bullet at it. And whether it's drug courts, whether it's more beds, more affordable beds, whether it's treatment centers, whether it's education.
Well, they're stopping people prescribing opiates or that. But
So I mean, it's got many heads
Right.
to it, but I haven't heard a real deep good discussion publicly. That's how we need to attack it. I did meet with Bill Berry, Alderman O'Neill, Alderman Long,
Danny,
and myself. Had a nice cup of coffee about a month ago, looking at it and talking about the new center up at the CAO building, and which is going to be multifaceted, multi-directional, where you can go in, which I think is wonderful. I think it's an idea that we need to see is being done across the country, and they talked and visited and had people in that are doing this in communities, similar to communities to Manchester.
right.
Demographically.
Best practices.
Right. So I think that's something that we really need to make sure, and that I want to make sure when I'm up at the State House, that we're not looking at, because everybody's going to want they have their solution. I think we need more drug courts. Absolutely. There'd be a solution.
Yeah, I agree with
It'd
you.
be part of it. But that we don't end up going, okay, let's vote this in, let's vote that in.
Oh, like
There's nothing left.
I'll have one from A and one from
Yeah.
B.
That whatever we do in the end needs to be something that's comprehensive.
Well, a holistic and community-based
Right.
approach.
Yeah. And-
Because the only way this is going to be licked is the community.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, well, we're all old enough. Sometimes I have young people on. There was a drug crisis after in the early '70s, after the collapse, the Vietnam War, and the economy and stuff. And there was a lot of problems in the society then that were feeding into what would have Jimmy Carter called a societal malaise or something. But jobs, young people, talk about I'll go back to education. Education is the backbone of any society. Educating people to have good jobs, a good future, and all that.
I think jobs in the economy is another
Right.
part of my campaign.
Yeah.
And, I look in being sociological minded as an educator. We have one of the lowest unemployment rates in the
Right.
country. But what types of jobs are we putting people into?
Right, and what types of jobs could we have with different policies?
Did 2 10-hour jobs, 2 jobs that pay $10 an hour? Does that mean that it's a good, unemployment? I want to see, being a father of 2 college girls, I hope that they
Want to stay in
want
Manchester.
to stay here.
Yeah.
rather than go to Boston.
Right. But they're going to go where the money is,
Yeah.
of course. And so I think we need to really make sure and really look at what types of jobs and how can we create those. We need to create them.
One of the great disasters, Joel talks about in his platform about, we have the New Hampshire advantage. Then suddenly it's just ground to a halt with Bill O'Brien and that Tea Party legislature. Suddenly, after all the growth of our lifetimes, only 30,000 people over the last, 6 years, that's remarkable. You know what I mean? They attacked UNH.
Yep.
They cut slashing the budget of the university system in New Hampshire. How stupid can you be when education and universities, look at Boston, which is the incubator of the new economy, is essential.
Right. In our community college system,
community colleges are vital. That's part of
critical. I saw that
the success of California.
For example, as I saw kids, and I taught mostly upperclassmen, seniors. The kids that used to go into 4-year schools
Right.
and apply to the colleges and universities, because of the economy, maybe their family couldn't afford it.
Yes.
And so the community college system became an alternative, a viable alternative for them to be
Right.
able to go. Not in my day, but in many people's day, they could earn enough money as a college student throughout the year to pay for their college tuition.
Yes.
Or most of it. And, my daughter's up at Plymouth, $27,000 a year for Plymouth State.
Yeah, and before the 4 year, you add it up, it's almost like 100,000 that these students are going to be in debt.
Yep. I
and,
have 2 of them,
Yeah.
But I have to tell you, the community college system, because I've lived in Massachusetts and also in California, it's such a vital system. That AA degrees, you do your 2 years, and it feeds into schools.
Right. One of the things that I think, and you just kind of referenced it, as an educator, I used to always say that to the kids, we need to create a pathway for you to have success.
Yes.
So as a state senator, I think not just education-wise, overall that my job and Joel's job and people up there is to create opportunities
Yes.
for our citizens, our families, our businesses to have success. I think in the end, other people do need to take initiative. People need to have some
private
skin in the
sector.
game in it.
Private sector can be very vital
Right.
to revitalize to public education, public schools. That's Mr. Baseball. If you're a baseball fan, you can stay on the last 15 minutes. We talk about the World Series.
But I think that
I'm still in it, Joel.
Yeah.
as a part of our
Yeah.
delegation, that we need to make sure that we create pathways so all of us can have success. Not everybody's going to be successful.
Right.
We got to figure that out. People used to always say, "You're going to make every kid go to college." No, I have to give the kid a pathway to go to college. The kid's going to choose, and their family's going to choose whether they're going to go or not. But I think that's a perspective and a thought process that I would like to bring with me up to the State House.
When I lived in California and I was in the Silicon Valley, but among the lower paid people there, what did we call ours? They had, I think, microserfs, but we would look at tradesmen like plumbers or electricians. They'd be making, we're middle class, right? College education. They'd be making 5-6 times the amount we did. And there's no, the status wise, but I'm just saying, how is New Hampshire doing when it comes to like technical education, schools for producing our plumbers, electricians, or various technical
Well,
jobs
I mean, I
like
think
that?
you see it here in Manchester is a
Yeah.
great example and something that we should celebrate. Is the fact that we've converted MSD from a 2-year program into a 4-year program, and that kids can graduate from there.
Manchester School of Technology.
Yeah, Manchester School of Technology. Kids can graduate from there, and the hours that they spent in the classroom count towards their apprenticeship license. A person can go to the cosmetology program
Yeah,
and leave
yeah,
the day
yeah.
of graduation and have a job. They have a license that they didn't have to pay for. That's and they're right out in the workforce.
Right.
You know, that's great that they can get enough of their hours over there in electricity, plumbing, building a house. You know, I've hired tons of kids out of there over the years to come out and do some work around my house.
Yeah, that's a good point, because they start as an apprentice and work their way up.
You got to work 5
Yeah,
years as an
sure.
apprentice, and you're
That's
going to
right.
get a ton. That's, I mean, it's.
Yeah.
I used to say it's more difficult to become an apprentice and do that for 5 years than
Yeah.
go to a 4-year school.
And once when you get your license, electrician or plumbing, and then, then you can be, that's when the money starts to,
Right.
It's easier. It was easier to get a programmer in Silicon Valley than a good plumber.
Yeah.
No,
But
honestly.
one of the things we've got to realize too is that, I mean, I've met with the president briefly up at MCC. You know, and they're being very innovative and creative in the programs they're putting forward. You got to understand that 50% of the jobs that will exist 5 years from now don't exist now. There's not even a name for them.
Yeah.
You know, would you ever hear of a game programmer? 10 years ago, I mean, we were trying to turn on big, huge computers.
Jobs we had in the valley in the 1990s are obsolete now.
Yeah.
Or gone
Yeah.
to.
So you don't just
God.
create a program.
Right.
You got to create a program that will give them a pathway and skills.
That's right.
To be successful, to be able to capture, that, and that's going to lead to better jobs in the economy, because then we'll have a skilled workforce, and we can put people into good paying. We got it right here within walking distance. Some wonderful,
Oh, yeah.
innovative programs down in the mills that are dying to get more help and more people that are qualified.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and I think one of the things that I'm going to bring with me is my real belief in expanded commuter rail. I think that would revitalize. There's issues.
Totally,
Yeah,
totally agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
My
yeah.
experiences in California.
But I just want to touch a little bit more. When that came up to vote, that there was 6 or 7 Republicans from Manchester voted no on that, and I just couldn't believe that.
Yeah.
This place, after being in California, this place, they call it Portlandia now. I know Portland, Oregon, back to 1983. This could be such a Portland, Oregon, a satellite of Boston, which is, according to The Economist, the British news magazine, it's the 7th most innovative economy in the world. And and I went out with a Wall Street Journal journalist, we were going around when I was running for state rep 2 years ago, and she thought we already had a commuter rail, and she thought this place was already going to boom. This place is so well positioned to be just a powerhouse.
Yeah.
But it hasn't happened because, like Joe says, there are people that, believe me, commuter rail works, and it's worth every penny. There's a big difference between getting on a commuter train and a bus. There really is.
No question about that. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're not hitting
Yeah,
traffic.
yeah.
To touch on Joel's point there, there are plenty of people. I'm not going to go after those 6 people specifically, but
Right.
they vote strictly because of their party, not because of the people that they represent.
Yeah.
And if it's
Well, then there are some free staters that are part of our party that vote with their party because they're only in our party because where they're running from has a Democratic, majority.
Right, we see that, but it's just sad that it comes down to that you don't represent your community
best
on an
interest.
issue.
Yeah, that's a good point, because these are politicians that live in Manchester, and they voted it down.
Well,
which-
Tammy Simmons, for instance, who's the head of the Republican Party here, she voted against just the giving cities the ability to have a 50-cent tax on a motel bed. Remember, Chris Herbert said, he went up to her, how could you vote against it? Just giving us the ability. It would be Manchester then.
Yeah.
That's her ideology. No money at all. You know, snow plowing is socialism, I guess. But,
Bring out the rollers and the horses.
right.
We'll roll
Or
the streets.
Yeah,
or
there you go.
the Liquor Koch brothers,
Privatize it.
which help campaign for her, privatize.
Yeah.
And then guess what happens? It's even more expensive.
Oh, and, or the quality.
Oh, yeah. Well, you're not accountable to
Right.
anyone. When you privatize a prison or privatize a highway, privatize the collection of meters, it's always a shortfall, and there's no redress, you know,
No.
because you've taken it out of the political realm. You know.
You know, which makes it. We've seen that time and time again here.
Oh, yeah.
See, that's why we need young blood as a state senator, Scott, right here. You know,
You-
to get
you,
him in office.
You're handing out his literature in
Yeah,
Worthwhile.
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. I'm out there and yours
Enthusiastic.
and Pappas and mine and people look at him and you know oh yeah, I know Scott, nice guy. I know Chris, owner of the back room, and I tell him my positions, this isn't my first campaign I ran. I ran for first time for school board, now alderman, now state rep. So people don't, know who I am, that they recognize my signs,
Yeah.
and, I hit them on pond comes. Oh yeah, we know you from, previous elections. So that's a good thing.
But you're a
people do
team
read
player.
me. Yeah. Oh yeah.
But we're going to make sure that we
yeah.
vote up and down.
Yeah.
You know,
well, that's
the whole
key.
ballot, because
Democrats
Uh,
don't vote down ballot.
You know.
Republicans do.
Why don't they start from the bottom and work their way up instead of from the top work their way down? See, that would be something.
I had a recount where Tammy Simmons beat me by 34 votes in the recount from 43, and you just see it. The Republicans, even if they're not going to vote for the Trumpkin, they'll vote for everybody else all the way down. Then
Yeah.
you see the Democrats stop about after Congress,
Yeah,
well,
halfway-
Senate
yeah,
in
halfway
2014.
through, yeah.
Hey, what about us, state
Yeah.
rep? A state rep probably affects you as much as a U.S. senator.
man,
From what you're
I'd say
voting on.
that, what's going to happen up at the State House is you're definitely getting a new governor.
Oh, yes.
So there's change in philosophy there. You're getting a new Senate.
Yeah,
Because there's 1/3, 8 members of the Senate retired, so you're going to get at least 8 new people, and that's a big shift.
And the Senate in New Hampshire is powerful compared to
Well, because 24
Yeah.
people can sit in a room
Right.
and
And
discuss.
Right.
400 people in the
Yeah.
room can't. It's hard.
at 400, and they can get monkey wrenched by some strange person from Ward whatever that decided they're going to run as a Democrat when they're
Yeah.
Whereas we were up there. Remember, we
Yeah,
watched.
we
We were
did,
watching
yeah.
the Senate.
Yeah.
And Lou
Yeah.
and Donna.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's a
But
really,
you guys worked. They worked together across
Yeah.
the aisle.
Yeah.
Jeb Bradley.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
And I mentioned, earlier on another show, I never got to choose who came into my classroom. And so I think I bring that perspective up there, that I've been able to work with all different types of people, students and colleagues over the years, that and represent them and see their perspective and be able to have dialogue with them. And I think I can bring that up to the State House as well. It's easy to say that you can go across party lines.
Yes.
It's another thing to do it and demonstrate it. We're seeing that with Kelly Ayotte,
Yeah. And your opponent, does he have any history of that?
No, we voted down Granite Hammer. He's
An ideologue.
right.
Somebody that
Yeah.
votes from ideology rather than for what's best for
And
Manchester.
it needs definitely no government, not less government, no government.
Yeah, that works really well. It's
Yeah.
called anarchy.
well, doesn't the Free Staters vote like that too?
Yeah.
Well, we won't get into them.
Oh.
Hey, if you want to join us for baseball, that's fine. But you got 3 minutes. What would you like to wrap up with before we talk about why Terry Francona didn't go to his bullpen and finish?
Too bad, too.
Yeah.
As I said, I've been a long-time educator. I think I bring a fresh and respective perspective up to the State House.
Well respected and well liked.
That I have, although I haven't been run for office like this, that I've had a lot of experience up there, working at the State
Right.
House.
Through the
through the National Education
Right.
Association.
So you know.
Right, some of it, in that, one thing that I think that I bring is, and I tell people this, is you can't be an expert on everything.
That's true.
And if you're a politician that thinks you're an expert on everything, it speaks to everything. So, like, when I'm out knocking on doors and people ask me about a program, I said, I don't, that's not my expertise. But when it comes across my desk, I'm going to find the person or persons that it is their expertise. I have an idea what firemen and policemen do, but when an issue comes across my desk that's going to deal with fire and police, I'm going to go to the fire and police, and talk to them, or the mental health community.
We go to somebody like Bill Berry for
Right.
law enforcement.
I've gone out to the DOT sheds, Department of Transportation sheds. We could talk about roads and bridges. Well, who's crawling underneath them, and who's plowing them and maintaining them? You go and you talk to those people.
Hey, Joel, Joel has an idea about new blood up in Concord. And then I'd like you to switch seats. You stay on. We'll talk some baseball. But what's your idea about bringing new blood up into Concord?
Well, you need new blood because if you keep on voting the same people over and over, you're going to get what you get. Because with the people that get voted in all the time, nothing gets done. And like John said, if you get new blood, new ideas, new faces, and it's going to make a major difference, to get these bills passed. If not, you're going to get the same thing over and over again.
Right. When my opponent has been up at the state, he's been a state rep.
And
so vote for Scott McGilvray. Right?
Oh, absolutely.
Vote for Joel.
Now, Scott, go over to the other seat. We're going to get Mr. Baseball. Mr. Baseball, have you done your research into... are we going to have to listen to about Casey Stengel in the 1960 World Series where he blew it?
I'll never get over that.
Did Terry blow it?
Don't walk in front of the camera.
He gave up the whole time.
No, Mr. Baseball, no walking in front of the cameras before. We had a flash of orange.
But you think Terry's saving for the big bullpen for tonight? That's why because
He had the bullpen.
But my point is that the game is in Cleveland, and he wants to win it in Cleveland instead of winning it in Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just like the Cleveland Cavaliers, they won it all, and I think this is the way he thinks, and that another championship in Cleveland is going to do their city very, very, well.
Yes.
Scott, you were a coach.
Yeah.
Did you play to win?
You always play to win.
Oh yeah.
Never pass up points.
There's no substitute for victory.
What happened? Why?
You mean
Or are we just?
you mean
are
the
we
last
just-
game?
Yeah. Are we just complaining that he left? How soon is soon? Remember when Bob Lemon in the '81 World Series took out Tommy John for Bobby
Yeah,
Mercer?
I do.
That was a disaster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Bauer didn't have it. He got punched around a little bit, but it was too late to use Miller and Corey Allen, excuse me.
Oh, we're moving in a bit. Not the camera.
Oh.
I like to see myself.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
So
Yeah, it should be a good one tonight.
Tomlin, Arrieta. Yeah, should be a very good game.
Should be,
Looking forward to it.
and I'm going to stick to my guns and, like I said, right along the Cubs in 7.
Yeah, I picked the Cubs I didn't pick them in 7. I picked them to win, but I am rooting for Cleveland. I hope I'm wrong.
But,
Scott, do you have any?
Yeah, I'm not a big baseball person, other than I do I enjoy watching it. But I never really played.
he's a football guy. Look at the size of him.
Although my favorite ballpark, and when I travel quite a bit for my job, is I always make sure I go to the ballpark. And my favorite was going to Wrigley Field.
Wrigley Field.
Never been to Wrigley.
I haven't been to that one. I was in the one in L.A. I played in the one in L.A.
Yeah.
You've never? Oh, Wrigley, which was a minor league field. Was that the Hollywood Stars or?
It was the L.A. Angels.
Oh, the L.A. Angels.
Hollywood Stars played over by Fairfax. And I won a few bar bets because I saw Yogi Berra get his 2000th hit in Wrigley Field. And I used to tell people, yeah, I saw Yogi get it in Wrigley Field. He wasn't in the National League. So I'd win a bar bet.
Because that's where the L.A. It was originally the Los Angeles Angels with
Wrigley Field.
Yeah,
Same gum.
Gene
Vermont,
Autry,
yeah.
the singing cowboy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that's the new L.A. Angels.
right.
There was a minor league team, the L.A. Angels.
Right, but you heard about the 2000s hit of Yogi Berra.
Yeah.
So he had to have gotten it when it was the American League
Right.
in 61.
Right, against the Angels, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Before they went to Anaheim. The Big A was 1966 or 7.
Something like that.
I used to go to a chiropractor there. I lived in Southern... he's from... You're not from Southern California, but you...
No, I lived there
a
for
lot.
32 years.
Yeah, right.
Do you think baseball is too long of a season that instead of, what do they play, 156 games?
162, Jim.
162. Do you think they should cut that down
Since
maybe like
1961.
140 maybe? 150?
I do. I don't.
mean,
I just can't.
Yeah.
154.
I can't picture the World Series going into November every year.
Yeah.
I went to the first and third games of the 1955 World Series, and September 28th or 26th was the first game.
Yeah.
It was done in the first week of October.
Yeah, don't forget they go all the way back to the third week in February, spring training.
Right.
So all those months from February, now that they're still playing baseball, I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yes, you're right, Moose.
I mean, it's a hell of a long season. That's why they
long
go
season
home.
of long games.
Yeah. So.
Well, that's the
but-
beauty of baseball, though. Theoretically, a game could last for an eternity.
Oh, it can.
Yeah. And W.P. Kinsella, who wrote the book Shoeless Joe, which became the movie Field of Dreams, actually writes a book where they play a game in perpetuity in the Iowa, some fake league,
Cornfield.
AAA. Yeah, that they play in perpetuity.
Do you know where they messed up in that movie?
Field of Dreams? No, where?
Shoeless Joe, they had him batting right-handed in the movie. Ray Liotta.
But
He was a left-handed hitter.
They don't flip, because they always say Gary Cooper in Pride of the Yankees was a righty, but they had to flip the everything, because Lou Gehrig was so famous.
Oh,
as a
yeah.
left-handed
Oh,
hitter.
absolutely. Yeah.
So he's a right-handed hitter, Shoeless Joe.
No, he was a left-handed
Left-handed
hitter.
hitter. Yeah, because that's what Babe Ruth was modeling his own swing after him, who was a lefty. Hey, what do you think about Pete Rose covering the World Series?
I think he's doing a decent job.
No, but Pete Rose is back. Remember, we've had that conversation before.
But I don't know who his barber is, but he has the
Oh,
lousiest haircut that I ever seen on a person.
And the color of the hair.
The dye.
Man, yeah. He
Hair
looks-
for men.
Jesus Christ, the guy looks like he's in his 90s.
He finally looks old. I
Yeah.
saw him 10 years ago in Las Vegas when I was with Victoria. It's my ex-girlfriend who's Russian. She comes from Russia. So how do you explain who Pete Rose is? So I thought, he's the Pele of baseball. Because even though she's born after Pele retired, Pele's the greatest soccer player in history, like Babe Ruth would be.
Yes.
So she understood immediately.
Oh, no.
But Pete, what would he'd have been, he's 75 now, he must have been 65 now. He looked like he could have played.
He's not 75, is
Yeah,
he?
he's born in 1941.
Yeah, he's
Him and
right up
Julie
there,
Christie, who I had a crush on as a kid, Lara from Dr. Zhivago.
Oh.
But once again, the Russian, even though she's English.
Who didn't have a crush on her in that? And the women had one on the other guy, Sharif.
Well, if we have a movie show, we can bring you on to that. But
Alex Rodriguez doing one heck of a
Hey,
job.
Rod, I
agree with you.
In the broadcasting booth.
Yeah,
yeah,
I agree
but
with
seeing
you.
so many miscreants on TV during the World Series, my God.
Yeah.
Shoeless Joe's banned from the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. 8 men out.
Well, I didn't know that. Shoeless Joe, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
Okay, hit us with some trivia. Cleveland, the Cubs.
Well,
How many games did it take? 6 games in 1948 for Cleveland
Yes.
to beat the
right.
Braves?
Yeah, and Feller never won a World Series game. He lost 1-0 to Johnny Sain in that series.
So Bob Feller was 48, was probably the greatest pitcher of his time.
He was, no question.
Well, unquestioned, greatest fastball probably ever.
Yeah.
And he had a great curve, too.
Oh, yes.
Rapid Robert, he came up at 17.
Yes.
His first 17 years old, they have Bob Feller come up.
Great trivia question. But you've already got one. But only 2 pitchers in baseball history to strike out as many batters as their age in a game. Feller struck out 17 when he was 17 years old.
Well, we know that Clemens wasn't 21 when he struck out 20.
it was Kerry Wood.
20. Yeah.
Kerry Wood of
Kerry
the Cubs.
Wood, right.
He struck
20.
out 20 when he was 20.
20 at 20, because that was that's the record that Clemens set. Only person to strike out 20 twice. In 9
Right.
innings.
Right.
This is why he's called Mr. Baseball.
And Denny McClain has the most wins out of anybody, right? 32?
No, he won 31 and last 30-game
31.
winner.
And no one has even come
Hoss
close,
Rathbone.
right?
No.
Yeah.
Go
No.
ahead.
Jack Chesbrough of the Yankees in 1904 won 41 games.
Really?
In the what we call since 1900, but
And-
old Hoss Radbourne won.
And Big Ed
50.
Walsh of the White Sox in 1906 won 40.
Right.
But Jack Chesbrough, 41.
I think you consider the modern era now 1894 about when you get to 66 inches, 60 feet 6 inches, and I think somebody won 46. Like, oh man! So you're going to Billy's after this?
No, I'm
Oh no!
not going to.
When are you going to get challenged for trivia?
What am I going to...
Billy's ought to have the baseball trivia if they got a 7th game tomorrow.
I cleaned out Billy's one night with trivia. I was giving Red Sox T-shirts away and everything else I wanted.
You won them all?
Just about. I was trying to keep quiet, but, when you want to show off, you still pipe
I
up.
stumped him once, and I stumped you twice because I gave Joel a question to stump you
What was
when
that,
you were first
Harry-
on the radio.
Harry Kravitz? Is that the one?
Yeah, Gabby Kravitz.
Gabby. Okay, yeah.
Gabby Kravitz. He was the big home run hitter before Babe Ruth. He hit 16.
Yeah.
Okay, who had the all-time single-season home run record before Babe hit the 29? It was 27, and they never really counted it. Wasn't it some guy called Nicholson, and he played in a field that
Bill
had like,
Nicholson?
Yeah, it had like a 200-foot fence.
Jeez, I remember him for just strikeouts. He struck out a lot. I think he held a major league record for quite a while.
Until we got well, Babe Ruth was a big strikeout
Oh.
guy. Then Mickey Mantle.
All of
then
these-
Reggie.
All of your sluggers are big strikeout men.
Not Ted Williams.
No, he wasn't.
He
Joe
struck
DiMaggio
out-
wasn't either.
Ted struck out about 700 times, and Joe half of that, like 361.
Right.
But once again, tell us about the World Series. What to look for tonight and the game? Who is the better manager, Terry or? I won't even mention John Madden.
I don't think it comes down to managing. I think Arrieta is probably the best pitcher on the team.
Okay.
So I'm going to give it to the Cubs tonight. And hope Kluber can go with 3 days rest again, which he should. He's been coming out in the 6th inning after 80 pitches or whatever. Can go the 7th game, and it would probably be against Henry.
But this isn't Whitey Ford they're pitching, and you saw the greatest pitcher of our lifetime lose a World Series game, didn't you? Sandy Koufax.
Oh, by far the greatest.
And what happened to him? And is that the last game he ever pitched?
Well,
1966 World Series?
Right, I was there. 2nd game. I was down the right field line.
A 27-game winner with a 1.74 ERA, 300 strikeouts. And what happened?
And he missed spring training.
That's right, because the holdup.
Yeah, he and Drysdale held out.
And what happened to him in that game?
Oh, he lost 6-zip.
To who?
The Baltimore Orioles and Jim Palmer.
20-year-old.
The youngest pitcher in World Series history to throw a complete game shutout. He was 20 years old.
2 Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
But different type of pitchers.
Oh, yeah.
Jeez. I don't think Jim Palmer would thrive now. He always used to get the guys going on that. He'd get them, that ball would keep rising, and they'd keep swinging at it. But not for the strikeouts, though. He was a great.
So in 1946, you saw Koufax pitch?
1946?
No, 60.
66,
Oh,
Joe.
66. Oh,
yeah.
okay.
What district are you running from, Joe?
19. What was the ticket prices back then?
I paid $4.30 to sit in the center field bleachers at Yankee Stadium, and I paid $3.35 to stand in Ebbets Field, standing room only.
My dad always used to talk about Ebbsfield back then.
Well, we were going to have a full baseball game after the election, so you'll be back. We'll have we have an orange sports code. Either Joel or I wear it, depending on the mood.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be a long night.
So I'm going to go with Cleveland.
With
Cleveland, I'm going with Cleveland's going to win the World Series, but I think it's going to take 7 games.
Yeah,
I hope you're right.
I see the Cubbies.
I just have a soft spot in my heart for Terry Francona. And Madden beat us in 2008 in the ALCS.
Yeah.
So the pressure tonight, you got to figure is on Cleveland because the game's in Cleveland. You got the big crowd there, and I think Cleveland might want to press a little bit because they're back home. And I don't know. I still say that the Cubs are going to win the next 2.
Okay, I would say the pressure's on Chicago because they're down 3-2 and they're in a foreign ballpark.
But I think the Cubs are more a relaxed team, and then the Cleveland Indians.
I don't know if that's true. Terry's such a relaxed.
But
in his real life, he's not relaxed,
No.
but he keeps things relaxed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll know in a few hours, I guess. What, 8 o'clock?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
11:30.
You're going to
we should
watch
know.
it?
Watch a couple of innings.
I can come over. We can put together some more signs. We're still putting signs together.
Well,
They
tomorrow's
do
always a
they
new
disappear.
day. Yeah, tomorrow's always a new. Thursday would be a better day.
Thursday, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what am I
Thursday,
doing Thursday.
Yeah, tomorrow I'll be out of town.
That's right.
Visiting Mom.
You're visiting
tomorrow.
your mom.
Yeah, I skipped her last week, so I'll spend a lot of time with her. And
She
my
doing
new-
all right?
Yeah, and my granddaughter. I'll visit first, and I'll shoot over to Brockton, Mass, and visit my mom for a little bit. have
Joel's
lunch.
not a new grandfather, but now you have a granddaughter.
Yeah, yeah.
You had a grandson.
Yeah, it's, a week ago today.
Yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
that, yeah.
Oh yeah, so doing good. Went for a first checkup, gained a few pounds. Well, not a few pounds, a couple ounces. She went. She even went trick or treating last night.
Did you?
Yeah, she did. Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah. So
I've got one last Lindors. Hey, thank you for joining Ward 13. We'll see you next week, election night. Thank you, Joel. Vote for Joel Elber, State Rep.
Thank you,
District
Johnny.
19.
Yeah,
Scott
Scott.
McGilvray, Senate District 16. And always vote for Mr. Baseball. We got to meet at Billy's and have a trivia contest.
We will try to set that up.
Yeah, let's do that. Until next week, thank you.